All right, you guys, we're down to the last four poems. The Red Wheelbarrow, William Carlos Williams. We just did that this week. So that might be a little bit fresh in your mind. So much depends upon the red wheelbarrow, glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. So the main thing you want to know here is this is free verse by William Carlos Williams. Let's move on to, let's see, is there anything else we need to know here? This one, oh, here's our moment. This is the third person objective poem. So everything's been in first person up to this point. We don't see anything that indicates that they're speaking personally, that the speaker is speaking personally. So if you look at the theme here, human imagination interprets what the senses relate about reality to the human mind. So remember we talked about what's not said. So so much depends. So much, that's a whole thing that we don't know, and we have to come up with our own story, and it makes us curious. So it's in third person objective and it's free verse. So this is just to say is also in free verse by William Carlos Williams, but it's in first person because it starts out, I've eaten the plums that were in the icebox. So there's this guilty conscience. A guilty conscience can push humans into apologizing. So he confessed and then apologized in this poem. We could take a quick look at it. Some of you are so familiar with it now, you probably have this two-line poem memorized, three-stanza poem memorized. We're claiming this is one sentence and this is another. So William Carlos Williams, I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox and wish you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so cold and so sweet. So fun. My mom just wrote a poem, a mimic poem for that because she knew we were doing that in class. It was pretty awesome. All right, dulce et decorum est, dulce et decorum est, which means it is sweet and proper. So dulce et decorum est pro patria mori means it is sweet and proper to die for the fatherland. So remember, this is a poem about war that Wilfred Owen wrote. He was a soldier, and he describes what it looks like in first person because he then speaks to the reader and says, if you had been there, so down here, oops. I saw him drowning, there's our first person, but then he speaks to the reader, I lost it. Behind the wagon we had flung him in and watched the white, oh, I'm missing something. Oh, if in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in and watch the white eyes writhing in his hanging face like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling, we get the idea. He's speaking in first person and spoke to us. So we have this title, it is sweet and right, and then we end up with calling it a lie. To die for your country is not necessarily so glamorous. It is not necessarily sweet and right. So there's irony. Look for irony in this poem. We've got the title saying it's sweet, and then the horrid reality of what war looks like. Starts out bent down like old beggars under sacks. We've got a simile right there. Oh, good, I included that over here with our literary devices. So there's irony, rhyme scheme, alliteration, simile, assonance, onomatopoeia. Beautifully powerful. Last poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Some people will refer to him just as Lord Tennyson. That works too. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. So bravery consists of doing one's duty even when it leads to almost certain death. So we know this group of soldiers go into battle and they get creamed. But they were honorable, they were brave, they were courageous, and went into the valley of death. Remember, we talked about Psalm 23 as an allusion to trusting in what's right, what's good, and being protected by a higher power. Let's see, back over here. This is the other poem that's in third person objective. So remember, third person objective is it narrates only what can be seen or heard, only what can be seen or heard. So they're not talking about their own feelings or another character's feelings, just only what can be seen or heard. And we've got the red wheelbarrow and the charge of the light brigade that are both in third person objective. Everything else is in first person. We've got repetition and personification. So Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote The Charge of the Light Brigade. That is our review for our poems for term 4. Please study your literary devices. There is a quiz that you can start today, and it's not due until tomorrow. So if you want to do the quiz for the poems today, great, that is due today. And then the literary devices, spend some time studying those. Then you'll take a quiz on the literary devices for tomorrow. That will start preparing you for taking online quizzes, especially with those literary terms. And so that's due tomorrow. So I will not give another assignment tomorrow, just a lesson on diagramming for tomorrow. So guys, review this sheet. Everything you need to know is here. Keep going. You're doing awesome. You've got this.